Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. In this video we're going to take a look at the Kizer Feist. This is the third iteration, we'll talk about that, but its claim to fame is it is a somewhat affordable front flipper made in premium materials like titanium, S35 yen, tons of rounding on this knife, a lot of work put into it, and yeah, I don't know. You know, front flippers are kind of a curiosity for people. You have to be enthusiasts. For enthusiasts in the knife community, we are all very, very familiar with the standard flipper tab, like so, that you pull back and thwack, you get a nice, satisfying opening. But the premise of the front flipper is there's no flipper tab on the back. We've got one on the front, and we use our thumb to open it. So similar concept, it flips open. Hopefully it's a nice satisfying flick, but definitely different motor skills. You have to get used to it. So anyways, let's take a look at some other junk before I get too deep into the rabbit hole here. Ships with a nice little pouch. See little line head door knocker things there, yeah, and probably a certificate of authenticity in there somewhere, and a nice little pouch, and most of you guys don't care, so throw that on the floor. Alright, knife, as I fail to open it. Amateur hour, guys, straight amateur hour. But this is kind of a fun little piece. Let's take a look at the specs real quick. I've got a number of different size comparisons here. We've got the Kershaw Dividend. Yep. We have another one from Kizer, the Guru, which is a fun little piece. What do we have here? The Adam Purvis Primordial, which I'm still very much crushing on. Actually, that one's kind of dark. Let's go here, and here, and here. Move the Dividend. We have the Para 2, of course. Again, way different sizes there. And then just for giggles, we have the Shirogorov F95 NL, I think. All the numbers and letters, I hope I have those in correct orders. But yes, it's a small knife. Blade length is 2.875 inches if we're getting real particular. Handle length 3.625. Overall 6.5 inches. Blade stock comes in at 120 thousandths thick. So next to the Shiro, not that that's really a good size comparison since that's a $700 production knife. Let's try the Dividend. Yeah, that's looking pretty close. I don't remember what this is on the Dividend. I forgot to measure. Handle thickness of 0.44 inches, and it does weigh in at 2.62 ounces. So small, lightweight, clean, elegant, gentlemanly. I've carried in slacks a lot, but that's pretty much the lowdown on the specs and stuff. So let's do a couple macro shots before most of you guys click away to go watch farting videos on YouTube or something like that. Alright. Notice all the sculpting here on the handles. A very nice, very usable pocket clip, thank God. But everything's got a rounded look and feel to it, even the way the back spacer is machined. Rounding here on the spine. Very smooth, very round overall. Again, this is the third iteration, and the blade shape has changed. This one's more of a reverse tanto. Again, titanium S35, ceramic bearing, ceramic D10, frame lock, stainless steel lock insert. Yeah, that's all the stuff. So the blade shape was more of a drop point on the previous model. But what happened with the first iteration that was released is there were some issues on the machining. I don't know if it was lock slip or centering issues. There were some issues on the first one that seemed to be fairly widespread. There was an issue with the manufacturing. So what Kizer did, and this was kind of not a good thing, but not a bad thing, is they immediately went and they fixed the issues. The problem was, there were a bunch of the first, we'll call version 1 out there that had issues, and then version 2 started hitting dealers, but it looked exactly like version 1. And so, buyers, enthusiasts, were like, well, shit, do I go and buy one? And what if it's not a good one? And so, you know, you're probably hitting up your dealer like, hey, I need you to look through and find me one that works. And the dealer's like, you know, listen, I'd love to accommodate, but I don't really have time to do that for every order. So, you know, it becomes kind of a huge cluster F when there are ones out there that have issues and ones that don't. They look exactly the same. It makes it really confusing for buyers and for dealers. And so, thankfully, they've released a version 3, and it looks it's very easy to tell this is version 3 based on the new blade shape and based on the new hole pattern. And so you know that if you're getting version 3, that there are not any manufacturing issues to where off-center lock slip, whatever the issue was, they're no longer present on version 3. And that's why I held off until version 3 here, because, again, I also don't want to deal with issues. So anyways, it was kind of a mess. Hopefully it's remedied now. Hopefully it's fixed. But yeah, so that's why this is the 3rd version. And honestly, this is way better looking than the 1st version, in my opinion. The reverse, again, it's called a reverse Tanto blade shape. You call it whatever the hell you want. Beautiful blade shape. It's found on like the Benchmade 940. From a visual standpoint, it's honestly one of my absolute favorite blade grinds. I couldn't tell you why. There's just something about the shape of the reverse Tanto that just gets me all warm and fuzzy, you know what I mean? So let's do some macros on it here. If we can get the camera to focus. Stonewash blade. Yeah, nice crown spine, quite lovely. Notice we don't have anything weird going on with the pivot. It's just a standard Torx. Super clean, fits with the knife very well. Really cool hole pattern. You can see the stainless, the over travel stop peeking through that hole there. Again, that prevents the lock bar from hyperextending, although with the strength of this lock bar, I don't really know that's an issue. Where you'll hyperextend, we'll talk about the lock bar strength in a minute. But yes. Lockup, solid, centering, spot on, and action. So, alright. Have I rambled on enough? So we talked about the version 1, version 2, version 3. If you're looking for one of these, go for this version, no question. So, again, you know, the things that I like about this knife are, one, everything has been contoured and rounded, beautiful lines, love the whole pattern on the blade, carries well in slacks, super clean, super simple. The price as of right now, December 15th of 2018, $143 at Blade HQ. If you're looking to try a front flipper, it's a great way to go. Let me clean off the blade. There are some other front flippers out there, like the ones from Booz, which William Booz. Did I do a video on one of those? Maybe. I don't even remember anymore, guys. But those are quite hard to find. This one is readily available at all dealers, so that is a good thing. Will there be more front flippers out there in the future? I hope so. But if you want to dip your toes in it, this one is just fine. So I like all those things about it. The pocket clip works beautifully, well done on the pocket clip. Jeans, slacks, you're good to go. Lots of options to customize. You could anodize this thing, you could anodize the backspace, you could anodize the pocket clip. So lots of customizable options. Blade grinds on this one, nice and symmetric. Came nice and sharp. Secondary bevel is uniform. You know, all those good things that I like about it. Here's some of the things that I don't. The balance is off. Where's the balance point? Let's see if I can do this without cutting myself. Here's the balance point on the knife. And so we're pretty much at the lock bar relief. I would prefer the balance point to be more towards the pivot, but it's quite tail heavy or butt heavy. With this, I assume it's kind of at fault of the, I don't know, maybe it's at fault of the backspacer here. Maybe standoffs would help to rectify that a little bit. Maybe they had to use this in lieu of standoffs because they need to keep the blade, you know, protected. Either way, it's a little butt heavy, so that's one thing that I don't quite love about it. It doesn't, you know, it's not a heavy knife. It's 2.6 ounces, but it's just not very balanced in the hand, which is, again, one of those finer details when you're being a picky snob. So, yeah, that's one thing. The other, the detent, I would call it moderate strength at best. I mean, I can get a pretty decent flip out of this thing, but I can also, I don't know. Again, I'm comparing it to my first front flipper, which was a custom from Clyde Challenor that had a very explosive detent. The problem is that if this knife was tuned the way that I like my front flippers, I guarantee half of them would be returned by buyers saying, I can't open the damn thing, you guys suck at making knives. So they can't go with a super heavy detent on the front flipper like I would prefer. Also, when you get a super heavy front detent on a front flipper, you need more aggressive jimping. It works, but if you had a stronger detent, you would just slip on this. It would have to be finer, a little bit sharper jimping, so you'd have to completely redo the knife. So again, I understand why they made it a moderate detent, is because that is the best detent setting for buyers at large. So it is what it is. They're not making it for me, they're making it for everyone. So again, you might get this and think, hey, detent's perfect. I can roll it open slowly, because I'm a classy man, or I can just rocket it open. Again, taste will vary. It's all gravy. The other thing is that I don't quite love is that this lock bar is freaking strong. It's got some crazy lock bar strength on it, so it takes some thought when you're going to close this knife. Like, you gotta, you can't just like do it, while you're focusing on something else. You kind of have to give a little bit more attention, and obviously it's not unbearable. It's just not ideal, like the Kizer Guru here. It has a little bit lighter lock bar strength. It has lighter lock bar strength, so it's easier to disengage. So again, maybe that's personal preference, but I feel like that's one thing that most people would agree with me on. But to remedy that, they would probably have to move the lock bar, cut it down lower, or cut this bar a little bit thinner to alleviate some of the lock bar pressure. Or they'd have to go, not bend it over as much, but then that might affect lockup. Or maybe they decrease the pressure on the lock bar, but then they need a larger detent ball. But then if you go with a larger detent ball, then it may not work very well as a front flipper. So, guys, it's not just as simple as just changing one thing. It's, okay, we've got to redo the entire formula. Anyways, suffice to say, the lock bar pressure is quite strong. So, so those are the things that I don't quite like. Is the lock bar pressure is really strong. It's not well balanced, and what was the other one? And the detent, I would like a stronger detent. So, I mean, those are kind of my three nitpicks with it. But again, beautiful design. I mean, it's beautiful. It looks amazing. It looks amazing. It works well in slacks. It's not aggressive. It's something I feel comfortable carrying around the office. Pocket clip is super functional. It's very small, very carryable, but it works for anything you need it for in the office. So, overall, I really like this one. If you're looking to try a front flipper, I would say this is a great place to start. And then if you're like, hey, that's good, but I need excellent, well, the cost is going to increase exponentially, because you're going to need to go to, maybe some custom options like some of the guys from South Africa, Clyde Challenor, maybe the Shamwari from Gareth Bull. Jason Guthrie does some really cool Barlow front flippers. So a lot of great front flipper options, but damn, it's going to get expensive real quick. So dip your toe. Yeah, try this one out. A lot of good things. Just keep in mind those likes versus dislikes and kind of weigh your options. So I'm going to continue to carry this one. I have no plans to get rid of it because, again, in the office setting, I think it works quite well. So, yep, that is it. Kizer Feist. Good job to Justin Lindquist, the designer. I think he designed a beautiful knife. I hope there's a version 4, and I would not be upset if it was a little bit longer and a little bit bigger. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully that was helpful, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.